Evelyn Hart stood at the entrance of the luxurious hotel, her heart racing with a mix of excitement and anxiety. The grand lobby, adorned with crystal chandeliers and marble floors, was bustling with guests dressed in elegant attire. She felt like a fish out of water in her simple uniform, but she was determined to make this job work. After all, every opportunity was a step closer to her dreams. Today was her first day as a room cleaner at the prestigious Golden Crest Hotel in San Francisco. It wasn't the glamorous life she had envisioned when she moved to the city, but it was a job, and it paid the bills. As she took a deep breath, Evelyn reminded herself that this was just a stepping stone. She had aspirations of becoming a writer, and every experience could inspire her stories. The elevator doors slid open on the top floor, revealing a long hallway lined with intricately designed doors. She checked her assignment sheet and headed toward Suite 1001, the penthouse. As she approached, she couldn't help but feel a flutter of nerves. What would it be like inside? Would it be as extravagant as she imagined? With a soft knock, she opened the door to find herself in a world of luxury. The suite was breathtaking, floor-to-ceiling windows offered a stunning view of the San Francisco skyline, and the interior boasted plush furniture and modern art pieces that spoke of wealth and sophistication. But what caught her attention most was the man lounging on the couch. Liam Sterling was strikingly handsome, with tousled dark hair and piercing blue eyes that seemed to hold secrets. He looked up from his book as she entered, his expression shifting from surprise to amusement. "Can I help you?" he asked, his voice smooth and inviting. Evelyn cleared her throat, feeling suddenly shy under his gaze. "I'm here to clean your room," she managed to say. "Ah," he replied, flashing a charming smile that made her heart skip a beat. "I apologize for the mess." As she began her work, Evelyn stole glances at him when she thought he wasn't looking. There was something magnetic about him, an aura that drew her in despite the professional barrier between them. She focused on dusting shelves and making the bed while trying to ignore the way her palms felt clammy with nervousness. "Do you always work this hard?" Liam asked suddenly, breaking the silence. Evelyn looked up, surprised by his question. "I believe in doing my best," she replied honestly. He nodded thoughtfully. "That's admirable. Most people wouldn't bother in a job like this." She felt a swell of pride at his acknowledgement but also wondered why he cared about her work ethic. "It's just temporary for me," she added quickly. "I'm pursuing my writing career." "Writing? That's interesting," he said, leaning forward with genuine curiosity. "What do you write?" "Mostly fiction, stories about life and love," she said, feeling emboldened by his interest. "Life and love are complicated subjects," he mused, his gaze intense. "What do you think is the most important part of love?" Caught off guard by his philosophical question, Evelyn hesitated before answering. "Trust," she finally said. "Without trust, love can't really exist." Liam smiled softly at her response, and for a moment, they shared an unspoken connection that sent butterflies fluttering in her stomach. As she finished cleaning, Evelyn felt an unexpected reluctance to leave the suite, and Liam's presence behind. There was something about him that intrigued her deeply, perhaps it was his charm or the way he seemed genuinely interested in her thoughts. "Thank you for your hard work," Liam said as she gathered her cleaning supplies. "Of course," she replied, trying to keep her voice steady despite the rush of emotion swirling inside her. Just before leaving, she turned back to him one last time. "If you ever need help with anything else, I'm just down the hall." He raised an eyebrow playfully. "I might take you up on that offer." With that lingering thought in her mind, Evelyn stepped out of the penthouse suite and closed the door behind her. As she walked down the hallway toward the elevator, she couldn't shake off the feeling that this encounter was more than just a fleeting moment, it felt like the beginning of something significant. Evelyn Hart settled into her routine at the Golden Crest Hotel, but thoughts of Liam Sterling lingered in her mind long after their brief encounter. Each day, as she cleaned rooms and tidied up the lavish suites, she found herself wondering about him, his life, his past, and the enigmatic charm that seemed to surround him. A week had passed since their first meeting, and Evelyn had been assigned to clean Liam's penthouse suite again. As she approached the door, her heart raced with anticipation. Would he be there? What would they talk about this time? She knocked softly, and when the door swung open, she was met with a sight that took her breath away. Liam stood there, dressed casually in a fitted white shirt and dark jeans, his hair slightly tousled as if he had just rolled out of bed. He looked like he belonged in a magazine ad rather than a hotel suite. Evelyn, he greeted her with a warm smile that made her feel instantly at ease. Hi, she replied, trying to keep her voice steady. I'm here to clean. Of course, he said, stepping aside to let her in. I appreciate you coming back. I could use your help with a few things today. Evelyn raised an eyebrow, intrigued. What do you mean? He gestured toward a pile of boxes stacked in one corner of the room. I have some event planning to do for a charity gala next week. I could use an extra set of hands, and maybe some creative input. Her heart raced at the thought of working closely with him on something so exciting. I'd love to help, she said eagerly. As she began tidying up the suite, Liam pulled out a few brochures and papers related to the event. I'm trying to organize everything, decorations, catering, invitations, but it's overwhelming, he admitted. Evelyn glanced at the materials spread out on the coffee table. You have a great venue lined up, she observed, picking up a brochure for an elegant ballroom overlooking the bay. Yeah, it's beautiful, Liam said, his eyes lighting up with enthusiasm. But I want it to be special, something that really resonates with people. They spent hours brainstorming ideas together. Evelyn suggested themes that reflected the city's vibrant culture while Liam contributed his vision for how he wanted the event to feel, warm and inviting yet sophisticated. As they worked side by side, Evelyn couldn't help but notice how effortlessly they communicated. Their ideas flowed seamlessly from one to another, and laughter filled the room as they bounced suggestions back and forth. The atmosphere was charged with creativity and an undeniable chemistry that neither of them could ignore. Do you always put this much effort into your charity events? Evelyn asked as they took a break, sipping on coffee from mugs emblazoned with the hotel's logo. Only when it matters, Liam replied thoughtfully. I believe in giving back to the community. It's important to me. His sincerity struck a chord within her. She admired his passion and dedication. It was refreshing to see someone so successful still care deeply about making a difference. As the afternoon wore on, Evelyn found herself lost in conversation with him, sharing stories about their lives, her struggles as an aspiring writer and his journey from a young entrepreneur to a millionaire philanthropist. With each revelation, their connection deepened. Do you ever think about what you want your legacy to be? Liam asked suddenly. Evelyn pondered his question for a moment before responding. I want my stories to inspire people, to make them feel understood and less alone. Liam nodded appreciatively. That's beautiful. Just then, there was a knock at the door. Marcus Reed, Liam's assistant, stepped inside with an air of urgency. Liam, we need to discuss some last-minute details for the gala, he said briskly. Evelyn felt an unexpected pang of disappointment as their moment was interrupted. She stood up quickly, gathering her cleaning supplies. I should get back to work, she said softly. Wait, Liam said, his voice laced with reluctance. He walked over to her and lowered his voice so only she could hear. Thank you for your help today. I really appreciate it. She smiled back at him, feeling warmth spread through her chest despite the interruption. Anytime. As she left the suite, Evelyn couldn't shake off the feeling that something significant was developing between them, a connection that transcended their initial roles as cleaner and guest. She found herself looking forward to their next encounter more than ever. Evelyn Hart woke up the next morning with a sense of anticipation that she hadn't felt in a long time. The sun streamed through her apartment window, casting a warm glow on the walls. Today, she would return to the Golden Crest Hotel to help Liam with the preparations for the charity gala. The thought of seeing him again sent butterflies fluttering in her stomach. As she dressed, she couldn't help but reflect on their last encounter. Working alongside Liam had been exhilarating, their conversations flowed effortlessly, and she felt a connection that was hard to ignore. He was not just a wealthy businessman, he was passionate and sincere, and that intrigued her even more. Arriving at the hotel, Evelyn took a deep breath before stepping into the lobby. The familiar scent of fresh flowers and polished wood greeted her as she made her way to the elevator. She couldn't shake off the giddy feeling that filled her chest. Today would be different, she could feel it. When she reached the penthouse suite, she knocked softly on the door, her heart racing. Liam opened it almost immediately, his face lighting up with a smile that made her forget all her worries. Evelyn, I'm glad you're here, he said, stepping aside to let her in. I've got some exciting ideas I want to share with you. As she entered, Evelyn noticed that the room was filled with colorful decorations and samples of table settings for the gala. It looked like a whirlwind of creativity had exploded in the suite. "Wow, you've really gone all out," she exclaimed, taking in the vibrant colors and elegant designs. "I wanted it to feel special," Liam replied, his enthusiasm infectious. "I thought we could mix some classic elements with modern touches." They spent the morning arranging flowers, discussing color schemes, and sorting through invitations. Evelyn felt invigorated as they collaborated, their ideas complemented each other perfectly. Liam's attention to detail paired with her creative flair made them an unstoppable team. "Have you ever thought about what you want to do after this?" Liam asked as they took a break, sitting on the plush sofa amidst a sea of decorations. Evelyn hesitated for a moment before answering. "I want to write a novel, something that captures real emotions and experiences," she confessed, feeling vulnerable yet safe sharing this with him. "That's incredible," he said genuinely. "What's stopping you?" She sighed, running a hand through her hair. "Life gets in the way sometimes. I work multiple jobs just to pay rent." Liam leaned forward, his expression earnest. "You know, if you ever need support or resources to help you get started, I'd be happy to assist." Her heart swelled at his offer. "Really? You would do that?" "Of course," he replied with a smile. "I believe in helping others pursue their dreams." Evelyn felt a rush of gratitude mixed with something deeper, an undeniable connection that was growing stronger between them. Just then, he reached for a nearby notebook filled with sketches and ideas for the gala. "Check this out," he said, flipping through the pages until he landed on a design that caught her eye, a beautiful centerpiece featuring cascading flowers and twinkling lights. "This is stunning," she exclaimed. "It captures both elegance and warmth." Liam's eyes sparkled as he watched her reaction. "I knew you'd appreciate it. What do you think we should add to make it even better?" As they brainstormed together, Evelyn realized how much she enjoyed these moments with him, how easy it was to share ideas and laughter. She found herself leaning closer as they discussed details, their shoulders brushing against each other occasionally. The atmosphere shifted slightly when their eyes met, there was an electric charge in the air. That made her pulse quicken. For a moment, time seemed to stand still as they held each other's gaze, an unspoken understanding passing between them. "Evelyn," Liam said softly, breaking the spell but not moving away. "There's something about you, I feel like I can be myself around you." Her breath caught in her throat as his words hung in the air. "I feel the same way," she admitted quietly. Just then, Marcus entered the suite again, clipboard in hand and urgency in his demeanor. "Liam, we need to finalize some details for tomorrow's meeting," he interrupted. Evelyn felt an unexpected pang of disappointment wash over her as reality intruded upon their moment again. She stood up quickly, trying to mask her feelings behind professionalism. "I should get back to work," she said, forcing a smile. "Wait," Liam said again, his voice laced with reluctance as he turned toward her. "Thank you for everything today." "Anytime," she replied softly before stepping out of the suite. As she walked down the hallway toward the elevator, Evelyn couldn't shake off the feeling that something significant was blossoming between them, a connection that transcended their roles as cleaner and guest. She found herself yearning for more moments like this, more chances to explore what lay beneath their surface interactions. Evelyn's heart awoke the next morning with a sense of unease that clung to her like a heavy blanket. The excitement she had felt in the days leading up to the charity gala was overshadowed by a nagging feeling that something was off. She couldn't shake the memory of Liam's words from their last encounter, how he felt he could be himself around her. It was a sentiment she shared, yet there was an underlying tension she couldn't quite define. Arriving at the Golden Crest Hotel, she pushed her worries aside and focused on the tasks at hand. Today was the day of the gala, and she had volunteered to help with last-minute preparations. As she entered the hotel, the air buzzed with energy, staff members hurried about, setting up decorations and arranging tables in the grand ballroom. When she reached Liam's penthouse suite, she knocked softly on the door, her heart racing with anticipation. He opened it almost immediately, and her breath caught at the sight of him. He looked dashing in a tailored suit, his hair perfectly styled. There was an air of confidence about him that made her pulse quicken. "Evelyn, you made it," he said, his smile brightening the room. "I could use your help with a few final touches before everything kicks off." "Of course," she replied, stepping inside. The suite was filled with an array of beautiful flowers and elegant decor items for the gala. The atmosphere was electric, but Evelyn felt a tension simmering just beneath the surface. As they worked together, arranging centerpieces and adjusting lighting, Evelyn couldn't shake off her unease. She noticed Liam seemed distracted, his mind elsewhere even as he engaged with her. It was as if he were wrestling with something deep inside him. "Are you okay?" she asked gently as they took a break, sitting on the plush couch surrounded by flowers. Liam sighed heavily, running a hand through his hair. "I'm just dealing with some things," he admitted, his voice low. "What kind of things?" she pressed, feeling a mix of concern and curiosity. He hesitated for a moment before speaking again. "It's about my business, some recent developments that have put me in a difficult position." Evelyn's heart sank at his words. She had sensed there was more to him than met the eye, now it seemed that shadow was looming larger than ever. "What do you mean?" she asked softly. "There are people involved who don't have good intentions," he said, his expression darkening. "I've been trying to keep everything under control, but it's becoming harder." Evelyn felt a wave of sympathy wash over her. She wanted to reach out and comfort him but didn't know how. "Is there anything I can do to help?" she offered hesitantly. Liam looked at her, surprise flickering in his eyes. "You're already helping more than you know," he said sincerely. "Just being here means a lot." As they resumed their work, Evelyn couldn't shake off the feeling that Liam was carrying a heavy burden alone. She admired his strength but wished he would let her share some of that weight with him. The gala began to unfold as evening approached, and guests started arriving in droves. The ballroom transformed into a stunning spectacle of lights and colors, laughter echoing through the air as people mingled and enjoyed themselves. Evelyn found herself flitting between tasks, serving drinks here, adjusting decor there, always keeping an eye on Liam from a distance. He moved through the crowd effortlessly, charming guests while maintaining an air of authority that made him stand out even among other wealthy patrons. As the night wore on, Evelyn finally found a moment to catch her breath in a quiet corner of the ballroom. Just then, Liam appeared beside her, looking dapper and composed despite the chaos surrounding them. "There you are," he said with a grin that lit up his face. "I've been looking for you." "I needed a break," she replied, smiling back at him. "This place looks incredible. It wouldn't be half as good without your help," he said earnestly. They stood together for a moment in comfortable silence before Liam spoke again. "Can we talk? I need to share something important with you." Her heart raced at his words. This was it, the moment she had been waiting for when he would finally open up to her completely. "Of course," she replied eagerly. He led her away from the bustling crowd to a quieter terrace overlooking the bay. The view was breathtaking, the moonlight shimmering on the water created an enchanting backdrop for their conversation. "Evelyn," Liam began, taking a deep breath as if preparing himself for what lay ahead. "I need you to know that I've been dealing with some serious issues related to my business." She nodded encouragingly, urging him to continue. "There are people who want to undermine everything I've built," he confessed, his voice tinged with frustration and fear. "I've tried to handle it myself because I didn't want anyone else involved, but it's becoming too much." Evelyn felt her heart ache for him. This wasn't just about business, it was about his life and dreams being threatened by forces beyond his control. "You don't have to face this alone," she said softly but firmly. "You have people who care about you." Liam turned to her, his expression vulnerable yet hopeful. "You're one of those people," he said quietly. In that moment, something shifted between them, the tension that had lingered transformed into something deeper and more profound. Evelyn stepped closer to him, feeling an overwhelming urge to comfort him. "I'm here for you," she promised earnestly. Just then, they were interrupted by Marcus rushing onto the terrace with urgency etched across his face. "Liam, we need you back inside, there's been an issue with one of the sponsors." Evelyn watched as Liam's expression hardened again. Duty called him back into the fray just when they were beginning to connect on a deeper level. "I'll be right there," Liam replied tersely before turning back to Evelyn for just a moment longer. "Thank you for understanding." As he hurried back inside, Evelyn stood alone on the terrace, staring out at the bay as waves lapped against the shore below. She felt both exhilarated and frustrated, exhilarated by their connection but frustrated by how quickly reality had intruded upon their moment. With renewed determination coursing through her veins, Evelyn knew that whatever challenges lay ahead for Liam, and for them, she would be there every step of the way. Evelyn Hart awoke the next morning with a sense of urgency that propelled her out of bed. The events of the gala still lingered in her mind: Liam's vulnerability, the connection they had shared on the terrace, and the looming threats to his business. She felt a deep desire to support him, to be there for him in whatever way she could. But how could she help someone so entrenched in a world she barely understood? After a quick breakfast, she decided to visit the Golden Crest Hotel. She needed to see Liam, to check on him after the chaos of the previous night. As she arrived at the hotel, she felt a mix of excitement and apprehension. The lobby was bustling with guests and staff, but everything felt different today, charged with an undercurrent of tension. When she reached the penthouse suite, she knocked softly, her heart racing. Liam opened the door almost immediately, his expression weary but relieved at the sight of her. "Evelyn," he said, stepping aside to let her in. "I'm glad you're here. Are you okay?" she asked, concern etched across her face. He nodded but didn't meet her gaze. "I'm just dealing with some fallout from the gala," he admitted, running a hand through his hair in frustration. "What happened?" she pressed gently. "There were some issues with one of the sponsors," he explained, his voice tight. "They're threatening to pull their funding unless I meet certain demands." Evelyn felt her heart sink at his words. "What kind of demands?" Liam sighed heavily, leaning against the wall as if the weight of the world rested on his shoulders. "They want a larger stake in my company, more control over decisions that should be mine to make." "That's not fair," Evelyn said, anger bubbling within her. "You've worked so hard for this." "I know," he replied, his eyes finally meeting hers with a mix of determination and despair. "But if I don't comply, it could jeopardize everything I've built." Evelyn took a step closer, feeling an overwhelming urge to comfort him. "You don't have to face this alone," she said softly. "Let me help you." He looked at her for a long moment, as if weighing her offer. "I appreciate that more than you know," he said finally. "But this is complicated." "Complicated or not, I want to be here for you," she insisted. "You've shared so much with me, let me share this burden too." Liam hesitated before nodding slowly. "Okay," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "But I need you to understand that this is risky." "I'm not afraid," Evelyn replied firmly. With that, Liam began to explain the situation in more detail, the stakes involved and the people who were pressuring him. As he spoke, Evelyn listened intently, absorbing every word. She could see how deeply this affected him. It was more than just business, it was personal. After they discussed the details, Evelyn felt a surge of determination. "We need a plan," she said decisively. "A plan," Liam echoed, surprised by her enthusiasm. "Yes. If we can show them that you have support and resources backing you up, it might change their perspective," she suggested. Liam raised an eyebrow skeptically but intrigued by her idea. "What do you have in mind?" "We could reach out to other sponsors, people who believe in your vision and want to support your work," Evelyn proposed. "If we can gather enough backing, it might give you leverage against these demands." He considered her suggestion for a moment before nodding slowly. "That could work," he admitted, a flicker of hope igniting in his eyes. "Let's get started then," she said with renewed energy. They spent the next few hours brainstorming potential sponsors and crafting emails that outlined Liam's mission and vision for his company, a vision that Evelyn had come to admire deeply during their time together. As they worked side by side, Evelyn felt an exhilarating sense of purpose wash over her. This was more than just helping Liam, it was about standing by someone who mattered to her and fighting for what was right. Just as they were wrapping up their plans, Marcus entered the suite again with an urgent look on his face. "Liam, we need to talk about those demands now, time is running out." Evelyn felt her heart race as Liam glanced between Marcus and her. "I'll be right there," he said before turning back to Evelyn with an intensity that made her breath catch. "Thank you for being here," he said earnestly. "Always," she replied softly. As Liam followed Marcus out of the room, Evelyn felt a mix of pride and worry churning inside her. She had stepped into his world and taken on a challenge that was far greater than herself, but it felt right. In that moment, Evelyn realized that whatever happened next, whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together. And as daunting as it seemed, she knew that love often flourished amidst adversity. Evelyn Hart awoke the next morning with a sense of purpose that propelled her out of bed. The events of the previous days weighed heavily on her mind, but she felt a renewed determination to stand by Liam as he faced the challenges threatening his business. She quickly dressed and made her way to the Golden Crest Hotel, her heart racing with anticipation. When she arrived, the atmosphere was charged with tension. Staff members scurried about, preparing for a crucial meeting that would determine the fate of Liam's company. As she entered the penthouse suite, she found Liam deep in conversation with Marcus, his expression serious and focused. "Evelyn," Liam exclaimed, his face lighting up as he saw her. "I'm glad you're here. I wouldn't miss it for the world," she replied, trying to inject some positivity into the room. Marcus shot her a grateful look before turning back to Liam. "We need to finalize our strategy before they arrive," he said, urgency in his tone. "Right," Liam agreed, his brow furrowing in concentration. "Evelyn, I want you to be part of this discussion. Your insights have been invaluable." Evelyn felt a rush of pride at his words. She had never imagined being involved in something so significant, and yet here she was, standing alongside Liam as they prepared to confront powerful sponsors who held the key to his future. As they discussed their approach, Evelyn felt a sense of camaraderie building between them. They were no longer just employer and employee, they were partners in this fight. She contributed ideas and strategies, her confidence growing as Liam listened intently and incorporated her suggestions. Finally, the moment arrived when the sponsors would arrive for the meeting. The atmosphere shifted from tense anticipation to palpable anxiety as they took their seats around a large conference table. Evelyn sat beside Liam, feeling a mix of excitement and nervousness. The door swung open, and several well-dressed individuals entered, each one exuding an air of authority and power. Evelyn recognized one of them as Victor Hale, a prominent businessman known for his ruthless tactics. He took a seat at the head of the table, his gaze sweeping over everyone present before landing on Liam. "Let's get straight to the point," Victor said, his voice commanding. "We need to discuss your proposal and our demands." Liam took a deep breath, steadying himself before speaking. "Thank you for coming today. I appreciate your willingness to discuss this matter openly." As they delved into negotiations, Evelyn watched closely, taking mental notes on how Liam handled the pressure. He was articulate and confident, but she could see the tension in his shoulders, the weight of uncertainty pressing down on him. When it was Evelyn's turn to speak, she felt a surge of adrenaline. "I believe it's important for you to understand what Liam's company stands for," she began, her voice steady despite her nerves. "He's not just seeking funding, he's building something meaningful that will impact our community." Victor raised an eyebrow, clearly taken aback by her boldness. "And why should we care about that?" he asked dismissively. "Because investing in something that makes a difference is not just good ethics, it's smart business," she countered passionately. "People want to support companies that align with their values. By backing Liam's vision, you're not only helping him succeed but also positioning yourselves as leaders in social responsibility." The room fell silent as everyone processed her words. Evelyn could feel Liam's gaze on her, supportive yet filled with concern. Victor leaned back in his chair, contemplating her argument. "Interesting perspective," he said slowly. "But we still need assurances regarding our investment." Liam seized the opportunity. "I can offer you transparency in our operations and regular updates on our progress," he proposed confidently. "You'll be involved every step of the way." As discussions continued, Evelyn felt a sense of hope blossoming within her. They were making progress, slowly but surely, pushing back against Victor's demands while standing firm in their convictions. Eventually, after what felt like hours of back-and-forth negotiations, Victor finally leaned forward with a calculating expression. "All right," he said slowly. "We'll agree to your terms, but only if you can meet certain performance metrics within 6 months." Liam nodded without hesitation. "I accept those terms." With that agreement reached, a wave of relief washed over Evelyn as applause broke out among their supporters in the room. They had done it. They had stood their ground and emerged victorious against overwhelming odds. As everyone began to disperse after the meeting concluded, Evelyn turned to Liam with a mixture of excitement and disbelief. "We did it. I can't believe we actually pulled that off." He grinned widely at her enthusiasm, a genuine smile that lit up his face like sunshine breaking through clouds. "I couldn't have done it without you," he said sincerely. In that moment, all the tension and uncertainty melted away. It was just them, two people who had faced challenges together and emerged stronger on the other side. Thank you for believing in me, he added softly. Evelyn stepped closer to him, feeling an undeniable pull between them, the connection that had grown stronger through every trial they had faced together. I'll always believe in you, she whispered. Liam reached out and took her hand gently in his, a gesture filled with warmth and promise. Let's celebrate this victory together. As they made their way out onto the terrace overlooking San Francisco Bay once again, the city lights twinkling like stars beneath them, Evelyn realized that this was just the beginning of something beautiful. In that moment under the vast sky filled with possibilities, she knew they would face whatever came next together, side by side.